Lightfield entered the less lethal ammunition market fully aware of what the industry had to offer. What we saw were several manufacturers offering what were essentially clones of the same designs. There were several different styles of drag-stabilized sock rounds and various fin-stabilized rubber rockets. Our assessment of what the existing market offered made it obvious as to what the market lacked. The typical beanbag was offered as essentially one size fits all. The rubber rocket and rubber buckshot loads were, at that point, older technology, but still available alternatives. In stark contrast to the one-size-fits-all position, Lightfield advanced on the concept that if a load is safe and effective at close range, it would be unsuitable at longer ranges. By the same token, a load with the energy and velocity to be accurate and effective at longer ranges would be too energetic at close range. From that position, Lightfield researched typical engagement types and distances and formulated projectile and velocity combinations to meet those demands. At the core of less lethal munitions is the understanding that each load has a specific minimum engagement distance, and that specific aim points are different than those used with lethal ammo. Both are important considerations, but aim point should always take precedence. It was on this premise that Lightfield set out to design a line of less lethal projectiles that would optimize the qualities best suited for common engagements at specific ranges. In 2001, Penn State University conducted an attribute-based evaluation ARL regarding less lethal ammunition available at that time. One of the findings, among many, was that accuracy was less than ideal, and that the cost of 12-gauge less lethal munitions was up to 10 times that of its lethal equivalent. Lightfield Less Lethal is grounded in addressing both of these key issues. By viewing the remaining short individual video chapters in this series, you'll see how each of Lightfield's less lethal products has been designed and engineered to meet the demands of specific engagement situations, with both unparalleled accuracy and affordability. If you have additional questions or would like to set up training or certification for your law enforcement agency, contact us through the Contact tab on our website. Lightfield Less Lethal. Designed to be different. The Lightfield Star is unique to the industry. Its patented design is available only through Lightfield. It was purposefully designed to have all the desirable qualities needed for a close-range engagement while minimizing those that may cause unwanted injury. The Star has evolved into a family of 3 loads, each engineered to deliver safe, manageable energy at a specific minimum distance.
The first in the family is the Starlight. Again, we identify our loads by color, so you as the user, when you go in your belt and get it, you know what you're loading, okay? They have a 1.25 inches in diameter. They're 75 grains, meaning they're very, very light. They go at 500 feet per second. They have 41 foot-pounds of kinetic energy. All right, the Superstar is the next step up. It's a little bit more energetic. The projectile itself is identical. It's colored green. Again, 75 grains, but you can see we've upped the velocity to 650 feet per second. It's very versatile. It can be used in almost any interior engagement in a house or a short hallway. But again, the foot-pounds have gone from 42 to 70, so we've almost doubled the energy, and we've only gone up to a 2-yard minimum engagement. So the next slide is the High Velocity Star, which is the newest member of that family. It's a 5-yard minimum engagement. This is much closer for those people who wanted the high energy levels of the beanbag, but without the penetration. 1.25 inches in diameter, 850 feet per second. This is ripping, okay? But the qualities that this load has makes it almost impossible to penetrate the human body.
The Star itself resembles a sea urchin. It has a core that radiates many flexible arms. The space between the arms allows it to be compressed into a shotgun shell, as well as expand quickly to full diameter on leaving the muzzle. The flexible composition is what is responsible for the way kinetic energy is transferred to the target surface.
The Starlight is our minimum engagement round in the Star family. It's good from 1 yard out to about 12 yards, okay? It's good for interior distances. So at this distance, I'm gonna shoot at the back of his quad muscle, okay, his hamstring. So from here, I can come up, I can demand compliance, you know, suspect, get down, get down. And you can see it made an impact on the back, okay? That, with normal clothing, would have a rather high pain tolerance. Next thing we're gonna do is go to the Superstar, again, which would start at 2 yards, which is right where my feet were, but we can also shoot that from back here, and you'll see the difference that 150 feet of velocity will give you.
Get down or I'll shoot.
That's it.
The characteristics of the Star's large footprint, lightweight, and flexible nature combine to create what we think is the safest possible projectile for extreme close-range engagements. By altering velocity, this load can be used as close as 1 yard. Lightfield LessLethal, designed to be different. There will always be those occasions where the use of force is required at longer distances. When Lightfield compared the potential engagement scenarios with currently available munitions, it was clear that the market did not offer a choice that held the accuracy or level of delivered energy needed to address this task. An extensive ballistic evaluation of available slug designs showed a persistent lack of in-flight stability.
The extended range munitions that the industry offered at that point were what they called a fin-stabilized projectile. It's this little rubber rocket bomb looking type of thing. It's heavy in the front, it's got little fins in the back. And this is the best the industry had to offer.
Lightfield engineered and tested a new design that proved itself as stable and accurate. The hollow-base design with dimpled sidewalls are patented and unique to the industry.
Ours is more cylindrical, it's hollow-based. These are going to shoot very straight. They're more accurate than any lead slug you've ever fired at 25 yards. There's no recoil, and they're extremely effective.
2 velocities of the Lightfield rubber slug are available. Both slugs are 130 grains, but are color-coded for easy identification in the field. The mid-range rubber slug is black in color and carries a muzzle velocity of 500 feet per second. The mid-range rubber slug is a less lethal impact projectile intended for direct fire at targets between 20 and 40 yards.
This is the mid-range slug. Again, the idea is to hit somebody in muscle mass, okay, from the navel or the belt line down, excepting the groin. So you want to hit muscle mass, especially with this load. But the Stars may not have sufficient energy for most cases at this distance. What you're going to find is a very low audible report, extremely low recoil, but extremely accurate. Okay, so these are very, very accurate, more accurate than almost any lead slug you'll ever shoot.
The extended range rubber slug is blue in color and carries a muzzle velocity of 600 feet per second.
This is the exact same slug, exact same weight, exact same material, colored blue for user identification. Should you have them in a bandolier or a side saddle, you can instantly identify it as the proper slug. These move at 600 feet per second. This allows you a lot of flexibility that was not available anywhere in the market. What does everybody want to do when you throw a tear gas grenade? They want to pick it up and they want to throw it back. So one guy throws the tear gas grenade and the other guy's there with a 12-gauge shotgun loaded with these. And when the guy goes to pick up the tear gas grenade, he is your primary target. That tear gas grenade will stay there on the ground.
The extended range rubber slug is intended for direct fire at targets between 40 and 60 yards.
When you're shooting at this range, it's important that you don't use a gun that's sighted in for 5 or 10 yards and then just throw it up at 50 and try it. So here, you would sight a gun in for about 40 yards, and I'm going to aim just about at his rib cage. Okay, so this does have that potential, and there is no other LessLethal, especially on the 12-gauge platform, that will allow you to do that. These will take out motion detector lights. These will take out video cameras outside meth labs. You can take out the side windows in vehicles. There you go. So the idea is you can remove that glass. Obviously, it's Penetration potential is limited, so if I was to shoot at the side of a house and shoot at the motion detector lights or the camera, you see it's not going to provide a hazard to anybody on the other side of this.
Lightfield LessLethal. Designed to be different. Lightfield's LessLethal rubber buckshot load consists of 24 .32 caliber balls weighing a total of 145 grains. It's loaded at 2 different velocities.
We have 2 different versions. The 400 foot per second rubber buckshot has a 1 yard minimum engagement.
The standard velocity rubber buckshot load is yellow in color, with a muzzle velocity of 400 feet per second. Standard velocity rubber buckshot is intended for direct or indirect fire at targets between 1 and 12 yards.
If you have a disturbance in a pod or something in a jail, you can bounce these off the floor and do indirect fire.
The high velocity rubber buckshot load is black in color and is a close to mid-range LessLethal impact projectile, intended for direct or indirect fire at targets between 8 and 25 yards.
It's the same stuff, it's just moving a lot faster. It's good for an 8 yard minimum. There's a lot of jails that still use this.
Lightfield's double ball load is a mid-range LessLethal impact munition using 2 .73 caliber balls. It's intended for low-angle direct or indirect fire at targets between 12 and 30 yards.
What this does is it provides 2 .73 caliber balls with the same total weight as 24 rubber buckshot. But what this does is, because these balls are heavier, if you want to use an indirect fire for riot control where you're going to skip fire off the ground, 2 heavy balls work better at distance than 24 little ones, plus they don't spread as much. So if I wanted to engage somebody outside that door, my choice would be the double ball, because I would shoot in front of their feet to catch them in the shins for riot control.
Orange in color, the double ball load weighs a total of 120 grains and possesses a muzzle velocity of 475 feet per second. Lightfield LessLethal. Designed to be different. The Nova DR grew from numerous customer requests for a non-impact load that had 3 characteristics in one package: effect, functionality, and affordability. The Nova DR is certainly not the first of its kind, but it's the only one on the market that has all 3 qualities.
This is going to expand a lot of options for a lot of police departments that were never out there. The Nova DR, DR standing for distraction round, is the 12 gauge equivalent of the hand-thrown flashbang. Hand-thrown flashbangs, they're very, very effective, but they have limitations. Limitations in cost. They're $38 or $40 a piece. Nova distraction rounds are about $3 a piece. At about 110 to 120 decibels, they do just about everything that a flashbang will. There's no ATF paperwork for purchase or certification. Keep in mind that these are basically just blanks on steroids. They're extremely loud. They have a bright flash. This is going to be a field demonstration of the Nova DR 12 gauge distraction round. The demonstration here is going to show the muzzle blast and the effect of what it'll do. You ready?
The Nova DR is intended as an indirect fire diversionary load. The intense blast signature and flash are intended to serve several purposes. It can be used as an alternative method to control or redirect dangerous animals. Entry teams can deploy the Nova DR to mask team movement or entry by discharging the Nova DR at a point away from where the team is operating. The Nova DR can be deployed at the entry point or within the structure as an alternative to hand-thrown NFDDs.
A lot of departments, if you're going to do a raid on a house or do a search warrant, they don't have a flashbang. You can't set the people on the inside of the door back and gain the upper hand. These will allow you to do that. These rounds will do light door breaching.
Please, search warrant! Please, search warrant! Step away from the door! Away from the door! Back, 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 back!
The Nova DR is ideal in the corrections environment for cell extractions and disturbance control.
Now for cell extractions, your entry point is a very narrow 3 or 4 foot cell door. And when they're on the other side and they want to get you, you're at the disadvantage. They're very close. you need buffer distance, you need standoff distance. So 1 or 2 of these rounds outside that door almost guarantees you buffer distance. You stand 3 feet outside the cell door, one guy on the team cracks the door, you light this off, and the people inside couldn't tell you what week it is.
The Nova DR round has several advantages. There are no alcohol, tobacco, and firearms excise controls for purchase, inventory, storage, or transport of the product. It offers greater operator control. There's little or no risk of fire and no fragmentation. The Nova DR generates little to no smoke to reduce visibility. The Nova DR has no heavy body that can be thrown back at the operator. It's easy to carry. It's not heavy or cumbersome like hand-thrown devices. There are no costly or repetitive user or instructor certifications required to use the Nova DR round. And finally, the Nova DR is significantly less expensive than hand-thrown devices.
It's the utility of having a 12-gauge version of a hand-thrown bang. So these are an ideal addition to any armory simply because they're cheap, they work, and they're an alternative that was never available.
Lightfield LessLethal. Designed to be different.
There are many agencies that will not allow the use of 12-gauge SIMs, specialty impact munitions, simply because there is the potential that somebody might substitute the wrong load. We recommend that less lethal munitions are only shot in designated weapons. Whether they're color-coded, you paint the barrel, you put the fancy stocks on them, doesn't matter. Obviously, it's a training issue. We color code them, they're lighter, there's a million different ways why you should know the difference between a less lethal munition and a lethal munition. But there are always going to be those agencies that say, I just don't want that liability to use less lethal in a shotgun because of the potential for a mistake. Well, we've addressed that as well.
Lightfield is now offering high-quality machined aluminum adapters that allow the use of less expensive 12-gauge, less lethal ammo in the 37 and 40mm platforms. The adapters are intended for low-pressure, less lethal ammo only.
37 and 40mm munitions, while they're very effective, are also very expensive. Okay, a 40mm rubber buckshot, 37mm rubber buckshot from the companies that do make them run anywhere between $25 and $40 per trigger pull. A lot of agencies don't have that kind of money even to put them in the inventory to use them on a as needed basis, much less annual qualifications and recertifications. Okay, so what we did was we made a metallic adapter so that you can insert this in here, then take our rubber less lethal munition, put it in, and then use that for training purposes or actual cell extraction purposes. So you're taking a $30 load, okay, putting it in here and reducing your training cost to $3.25 per shot.
Lightfield also offers another unique alternative in 37mm specialty impact munitions. Our new 37mm single-use loads offer characteristics not otherwise available in the industry. The new loads are built around Lightfield's patented Star projectile. The ribbed plastic shells each contain a Superstar or Starlight 12-gauge load permanently fixed inside.
We now have less lethal 12-gauge, okay? The load that's in here is a 12-gauge load in a nylon case, permanently fixed in there. So now if you need to vest up and have all your gear in here and you're going to go in for an outside disturbance, riot, protest type of thing, or in the jail situation, now you can set these up and have 12-gauge energy usable at the 12-gauge distances of cell extractions and room entries at $9 a shot versus $30 a shot. Now again, a lot of the 40mm stuff that's out there is unsuitable for very close range. Most of the 40mm that's out there you can't use for cell extractions. Can you use it in an open dormitory at the longer ranges? Yes. Can you use it down long hallways or gyms or yards? Yes. But when it comes to cell extractions, if your agency opts not to use the 12-gauge, okay, or you're doing a room entry and everybody's carrying M4 carbines, but you have one guy with a 203 or a designated less lethal, they can still use the 12 gauge in the larger bore platform and have usable energy at usable distance at a reasonable price. So we have options that other people do not make.
The 12-gauge load in the 37mm body gives new life to the otherwise outdated 37mm platform. Lightfield LessLethal. Designed to be different.